Hey guys, this is Caesar from GamerGraphics.com bringing you another Pro-E Wildfire 4.0 tutorial. And today I'm going to show you how to make a family table. This is the basic intro to family tables. This is part 1. Part 2 I'll actually do bolts or something like that with different lengths and things like that. But for this case I'm just going to show you this simple hex nut that I modeled up. And all I did was model it up and call it hex nut. It's just a standard hex nut from the ANSI B18.2.2 1986 standards from the Machinery's Handbook. It's nothing fancy, but I don't want to redraw this 100,000 times. So what I'll do is create a family table. Now, one thing I want to quickly show you is if you click on your feature and you bring up a dimension, say, and you right-click on it and go to Properties, and go to Dimension Text, you'll notice there's a name associated with this dimension called D1. Now, when you're doing family tables, one of the things you should keep in mind is that when you're looking at your family table, I'll show you. When you're looking at your family table, you're gonna select dimensions, and it's gonna put in those values: D1, D0, D10, whatever the value is. So later on down the line, when you go to change the values, you're going to be looking at it like, okay, well, what's D10? Okay, so one way around that is, well, let me show you what it looks like. So family table, let me delete this family table out of here. If I go to insert an instance, this is my what's called a generic part, and this would be my first instance. Okay, so I'm going to call this M5. And if I select this right here, it adds a table. Now this is where you select your dimensions. So like I was saying, when I select this 200 for my across flats, it just says D1. Well, when you get into, let me just do 3 of these real quick and hit OK so you can see what it looks like. See, now you can see that you got D2, D1, D25. You're like, well, what? I don't understand. You know, it can get confusing trying to figure out what these are called. So the workaround around that is, let me delete this. Let me delete this whole table. Okay, so what I would do is I would bring up the dimensions that you know are going to change, and I would go to Dimension Text, and I would call this across flats. Hit OK. I would call this hex height. I would call this one thread OD. Thread chamfer. And nut chamfer. Okay, so now that we've done that and we've went and named all of our dimension properties to what those are actually called, I'm going to go to Tools, Family Table. Let me delete this entire table here so I can walk you through it again. And you're going to create your family table now, which is, it's pretty simple. Like I said, this first one here is called Insert a New Instance. When I do that, it brings in, this is the first one's your generic, so you're not going to want to rename that. The second one is what you want your first part to be. So I'm going to call it M5. And then I'm going to hit this next button here. It says Add, Delete the Table Columns. So I want to add columns. So now what this window is asking me is I want to choose dimension, okay? And I want to choose the dimensions that are going to change from size to size. So my first dimension would be my across flats, and you'll see that when I renamed it, it's showing up in here. So still D1 is linked to it, but it's calling it, the name of it shows up, which is very useful, and you'll see that in a minute. When I go to, I'm going to add the hex height. I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to add this one, and this one, and this one. I'm going to hit OK. Now, this brings up all my little properties that I named those as, which is, like I said, it's very helpful because now I don't have to do a lot of thinking. My across flats for an M5 is going to be 8.00. My hex height is going to be 4.7. My thread OD is going to be 5, obviously. I'll make my thread chamfer 5.5, and the nut chamfer itself is going to be 8, and I'm going to hit OK. Now when I go back to my family table, you can see that this instance is in here, and I'll show you how this all works in a second. Now if you wanted to add another instance in here, select this one here, select this latest row, and you would hit insert a new instance. Okay. Otherwise, if you leave it on, if you select hex nut, it inserts it in between the generic part here and the M5. So you don't want to do that unless you're trying to put in sizes smaller than an M5. So I could do an M6, and I could type in, let's see, an M6 is 10 cross flats, and the hex height is 5.20. My thread OD is going to be 6. My thread chamfer is going to be 6.5. And this is going to be 10. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to save this. Tools, family table, make sure it's still there. Okay, so we're good to go. Now I'm going to close this part. And I'm going to open up the hex nut that I just had open. Okay, I hit open. Now you'll notice that you see select instance. Now the generic is the main part that I just drew at any size or scale that I wanted. It did not matter. Then you have your M5 and your M6 that we put in. So let's select the M5 and hit open. Okay, now it's open. So I now have my hex nut open, and it's an M5, and it's to the standard, and I don't have anything to change in here. I just would insert it into my assembly, and that'd be it. Now you're wondering, well, okay, well, can I change it? Well, no. It's driven from a family table, so you can't change it. It's a standard nut now, driven from the table. So you're thinking, oh, maybe I can go into family table here, and oh, there's no family table. The family table only resides in the standard part. It's called the generic. So if I close this, let me erase my temp directory there. That's what I ran into before. So if I hit open on my generic part, the hex nut, see how it says the generic, and then you have M5, M6. Okay, if I hit the generic and I hit open, this part actually has the family table in it. Tools, family table. Now this, I can go in and I can change. If my standard changes, I can change these to whatever the standard is. I can add more parts in here. And that's pretty much it for this basic tutorial of how to create a hex nut family table. It's great for making standard part tables. And like I said, part 2, I'm going to go over how to add different instances for thread lengths and things like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you have questions, feel free to ask and rate, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks.